Now let's get to the part where I think everything I have done has just been for nothing. It's hard to know where to start this, so I'm just going to start it with, this is my little USB drive, and I can't imagine how uncomfortable it was around the Eveld's house last year when they found out that Sonia had recorded everybody in a meeting without their knowledge. And then in her attempt to prevent me, and I must say illegally prevent me from getting the recordings of city council meetings, she accidentally gave me the secret recording, which you've heard clips of multiple times. In fact, I'll play a couple of the greatest hits for you now.
Do you think it would be helpful if I didn't quote him?
I do. I think he's fueled by that.
I mean, that's withholding information, so I can't. But I can see where this is going.
Just play it down, and Steve made a comment.
Do you have to comment by name? You say a citizen.
Yeah, that's what you should do.
Citizen.
A
citizen and not put his name. Mark doesn't say his name.
Yeah.
And I'm not making the comparison. Don't take me wrong.
But
But Mark does
he
not.
likes his name in the paper.
Oh, okay. So, okay. Well, that would be because it seems just from.
And I will tell the council, I was accosted by 2 people last week, citizens, that said, how much did the community center go over budget? Because I saw it in the paper that it went over budget.
And that was a lie. That's
I
not
said, no, it
true.
did not. That was a comment by somebody else. It did not. So that's the kind of information that gets out because of that. So
What did I say in the paper?
Well, just that Steve said it.
Steve said it.
He said that we went over budget.
Oh, okay. And okay.
So I don't even know where he's gathering that information, to say that we went over budget. He doesn't know what we've talked about for the last 2 years trying to get this project off the ground.
I just think what I'm stressing here is we got to be real careful about complying and compliance. And just because some of us question the motives, he's asking questions he's entitled to answer.
I know, and that's why I'm ready to do it.
I know you know, even though it's
Aggravating.
And the reason I asked that is, we've got to control what information gets out.
Right.
And, the wrong person doesn't care as much as we do if our city. So it's got to be the right person. And it would help Sonia a lot if it was somebody who already knew the system.
The mini blinds are sitting like this. There's.
Well, what about the city council who wants to be involved?
Why don't you shut your mouth?
Well, who can he be? Who's going to vote for him?
You see, I want to start there because the gifts just keep on giving, and I want everyone to have a great Thanksgiving, so let me give you another little nugget. Back around the end of September of last year, for whatever reason, Miss Eveld started dumping documents over to my attorney. Now, this had to do, I guess, with the lawsuit, and she's trying to retroactively go back and provide the documents I'd asked for months earlier, but she had not provided. So now she's trying to get it done, so hopefully the court case will just go away. And this is after she's violated the Freedom of Information Act multiple times. During this document dump, my attorney is emailing me things. And Miss Eveld's also including the city attorney on these emails. This is where she starts providing us with the copies of checks where she's tried to pay back from stealing the Bank of America card. She's buying stuff on Amazon and then she's writing a check to cover it at some other time. The law, I do believe, says if you're an officer of the court and you see a crime, you're obligated to report it. So either the former city attorney was either ignoring a crime or he was ignoring Miss Eveld. Either way, maybe that's another video. But it was during this time that she handed me a receipt that showed very clearly that her stepson, Kyle Eveld, had done the exact same thing. Now, he had absolutely no business using the city's Bank of America card. There was a little different with Kyle. You see, he had nicked the city's Bank of America card and bought himself some shirts. But he didn't write a check to pay it back. No. He bought himself some shirts. But before I jumped to conclusions, I took the receipt by the fire department and I found out what kind of shirts the fire department buys. And it turns out that they don't buy burgundy polo shirts at the fire department. But Kyle bought him some with the Bank of America card. And his stepmom gave me that receipt. Happy Thanksgiving, Evelds. Happy Thanksgiving. You would think that somebody would get arrested for that, but not in Ozark. In fact, you know what I was told? It's just a misdemeanor, Steve. Give me a felony. Well, it seems to me that maybe is a felony. It's not the dollar amount. It's one of the F words, right? Fraud or forgery. I'm not sure which one, but when you take somebody's credit card that you're not authorized to use and you use it, that in itself is the crime. But as I said, he didn't get arrested, he didn't get in trouble, he's still working. So after the first of the year, I decided to play by the rules and be nice. Learned my lesson because you see, I took all of the documents I had, every receipt that was hinky, and turned them over to Mayor Hall with the good faith that she was going to hand it over to the prosecutor's office. In fact, she assured me that the investigators would have this information. It wasn't just receipts and documents that I handed over to Ms. Hall, but I had a step-by-step laid out everything that had happened and how it was all connected, and some of this stuff is hard to connect. Let me tell you, you got to be willing to dig through a lot of paperwork to see these interconnected things. Just like the pool having 3 different dollar amounts for how much the extra lane cost. So I just assumed the investigators had all of that because it was a lot of work putting it together, and I spent a considerable amount of time sitting down with the chief of police going over every item detail by detail. This was back in January. And I waited and I waited and I waited, and you know what I got? I got this hung on my door because I hadn't cut my damn grass. Now, I have to say that Officer Reed, when I came to the door, he instantly saw that I was terribly ill. And I think I'd gone 14, 15 days without cutting the old yard, but it's because I couldn't. It was, I think about 6 or 7 days I could only walk from my bed to the bathroom, and occasionally I managed to get to the kitchen and eat. But nobody came to help. Nobody offered any assistance. Now, I just got a warning about cutting my grass. And you know, I stewed on that and I stewed on that, and I thought, here we are in Ozark where people have openly committed crimes. Sonia Eveld gave us copies of checks that she wrote to pay for using the city's credit card. We don't have to wonder about that. It's in black and white from her own hand. And also from her own hand are the receipts where her stepson used the same card. Oh, and by the way, it wasn't just one time that a couple of shirts got bought. It was, I think I'm up to 5 or 6 different times that something was purchased without authorization. And we'll go over some other things in another video because that's just the tip of the iceberg. But that information was given to Ms. Hall. He's still out there running around, but I've got this to think about. And then just here recently, I stumbled onto another one of these receipts. Dude had bought himself some bling, and I went to give that to the investigator and kind of made the statement that you can add that to the rest, and they're like, what do you mean the rest? They didn't have a clue what I was talking about. this town is corrupt. It's corrupt in so many different ways, but all of those documents that I turned over, I guess, are just gone. And whatever work I did to provide investigators to bring justice to all of this is gone. And I guess I'll do another video to tell you exactly some of the other ways that this investigation has been corrupted, and now it's beginning to look like it was all deliberate. And I was mad briefly, but now I'm just kind of disgusted by it. I'm disgusted by everything I see, and I just want to get out of here as fast as I can. I suggest that if you're going to raise a family in this town and you're not one of the haves, one of the beautiful people that's going to get the contracts and the appointments and the $10,000 checks for not doing anything but just for being you, or like the $30,000 check they write Sandy Key every year, or the $250,000 they've handed Sandy Key over the last few years. Look around Ozark and ask yourself, what did we get for that? But back to what I was saying, if you're not one of those people, you will be better off somewhere else. This is not the place you need to raise a family. As I said, I've filed 3 police reports in 2 years. I lived in one of the largest cities in the South, and I never saw crime. There's something wrong here. There's something wrong, and it's not going to get fixed. It's never going to get fixed because the people in charge simply do not care. That's it. There's a couple more things I want to add to this video before I end it. Misappropriation of funds in the city of Ozark is widespread, and it's also widely known. There is no way that the city council did not know that multiple people were involved in misappropriation of funds. They absolutely had to know. For instance, in the text messages that my attorney compelled the alderman to produce, we saw that someone had called, or maybe several people had called Susan Holman and told her that Kyle Eveld was in the city's red Tahoe that his dad used to drive and was out of town at a restaurant. So we know Susan Holman knew about that, and yet Kevin was not fired for that. Kyle was not fired for that. Nothing happened. And from what I've been told by literally dozens of people, those kinds of things went on all the time. Rex Anderson even told me that he had no problem with Kevin Eveld taking that city truck to Fort Smith to take his wife out to dinner or go to a movie. He said that he felt like that was not a big deal. Well, that is misappropriation of funds, Rex. But they got away with it because apparently nobody ever said anything, and nobody cares enough to actually go and stir up some stink over it. The other thing I want to mention is that if you look at the credit card statements, and I'm not exaggerating one bit, but every single month, every month for 4 years, now that's what I've seen is 4 years back, but every single month you can find some instance of misappropriation of funds. Folks, that's corruption. It's corruption everywhere else in the world, but it's allowed to continue to this day in Ozark, Arkansas. You know, there was a charge that Kevin Eveld made with the city's Bank of America card where he took his little happy ass up to Alma and ate at Gino's Pizza and charged the city $15 to do so. If you don't think there's something wrong with that, then there's something wrong with you. It's misappropriation of funds. And I guess the other thing I have to add to this video is, I think if I was Kyle Eveld, I'd be wondering what my stepmom had against me. I wouldn't have found those documents had she not made a big deal out of copying receipts and giving them to me. Because, you see, I never asked for that. And she gave that to me without requesting it. So, I don't know. It seems kind of odd to me. Maybe she's out to get him. I don't know. I guess that'll be all for now. And there's still a little bit more to come, including the two things that I think are the worst, and that's the hundreds of thousands of dollars that have just found their way out the door through the Advertising and Promotion Commission, and the fact that we allowed Kevin Eveld to put surveillance cameras in the community center. Those will be my next two stories, and well, they make me sick at my stomach. See you in the next video.